What's good with you? Welcome back to Hold Down Gaming Podcast. What they don't tell you about architecture school. Today we are recording all about internships on this episode. Welcome back, co-host. Get to the bad Kev, aka Kev Dollar Sign, and you know who it is, CP Dollar Sign. Let's get into it.
What's good, everybody? So let's talk about internships. As architects, I feel like we're pressured the most about getting this, and I feel like there's kind of a stigma about trying to get them early, like as soon as freshman year, if you could believe that, and sophomore year. When in reality, most of the time you're going to get them around junior, maybe senior year, even some not even till like you graduate.
Right. That is a big point. If you haven't already, if like your parents aren't an architect or they don't work in the office or you're not doing internships, taking you to work, don't worry about an internship right now at the very beginning of school. The time to worry about that is you can start applying and looking into certain jobs at certain firms around third year. But you can practice your interviews, but you really shouldn't be taking it too seriously because you still have almost two years of school left, depending on what program you're in.
Yes, you raise a good point with interviews as well, because for me personally, it took me a long time to figure out how to have a good interview. Like that's one of the most crucial parts of getting a job in general, and that's not something you learn like you get on the first time try. It really isn't. It takes a lot of practice, a lot of prep before, like having people look over your resume that are professional. If it's like your professor, if it's like an older friend, or even like if you have a class for that, or like your advisor, you need someone to practice with. A lot of people don't practice, and a lot of people don't get jobs, and that can, disrupt your confidence.
Right. It can definitely have a big impact on your like mental health going into your finals week and trying to finish your project while also trying to land a job at the same time. It's very stressful, but we understand. We've been through it. For me, I've done well over 50 interviews, multiple times with the same company for some, and I still haven't gotten that internship with that particular company, but it did give me better skills when answering questions during interviews. It's always important to relax, but yeah, you got any more tips for the interview?
Yeah. Also, you can also have a great interview and still not get a job. Don't let that discourage you. It can be the wrong time. It could also be the wrong place. You got to trust the process and, keep the confidence up. You are going to be successful. You are going to get better at this. So just keep it in mind.
Right. And that leads great into the next segment on how do I know which internship is right for me. So for me, I'm a very technical, really into the design detail designer right now. I'm not an architect, of course, yet, but we've already graduated and we're in our master's program. So giving you this feedback, the first internship I got was pretty much perfect for me. I think that was the exact place I needed to be at the time. It was very detail focused. I just worked on a lot of drawings all day, Revit drawings, and the focus was pretty much on detailing the entire time. I did work on some demolition plans, which were interesting, and I'll tell you a story about my internship later in the video. But let's get back to Kev.
Mm. Yeah, internships, for me, I personally, it doesn't really matter to an extent where I'm going. I like kind of just throwing myself into new challenges. The one thing, because how are you supposed to know what you don't like, what you do like until you do something you don't like? My first internship I was blessed was like having an amazing one. And that led me to realize, oh yeah, that's exactly what I want at the time. But then I had a bad one where, well, I wouldn't say necessarily bad. I just had a less fulfilling one. And I did some of the same things, but I realized, oh, it wasn't that I need to get paid a certain amount or I need to be in a certain location. It's more like the office life. How do I feel coming into work every day? Am I having a good work-life balance? Those are things that are really important because work takes up so much of your time, the majority of your days. And if you can't find some enjoyment out of it, you're gonna lose yourself.
Right. I think that's a very good point.
Mm-hmm.
I think the next segment should be office etiquette.
Oh yeah.
Starting with me. Me personally, coming from HBCU, it was always taught and ingrained in us that you have to dress out no matter where you're going or what you're doing. So, of course, I dressed out head to toe, full tie, full dress shirt, shoes, jacket, vest.
The Cornelius fit.
The whole Cornelius fit.
Spiffy.
I did this for 5 weeks into my internship. I didn't dress down until I was getting ready to leave. And they begged me to dress down.
Because it was getting cold, too. It was getting a little chilly.
Because they did not like the fact that I was outdressing everybody in the office. It's not a negative, but just keep that in mind. People do see how you dress and how you carry yourself, how seriously you take yourself, which is very important. Don't take yourself too seriously, but always keep in mind people are watching you, and they do see what you're doing. What about you?
Yeah, I'm putting that shit on from time to time. So with me, I was also wearing suits. I was wearing button-ups every day, even up to casual Fridays. I might still be overdressed just because. Also, that's just the clothes I have. Like, they don't tell you this, but spending a good amount of your check on clothes is kind of important because you need to feel comfortable at your job. At one of the jobs I had, like, it's very hot in the city, and wearing a button up, some dress pants, and some nice shoes every day, while also driving and walking to my office, that wasn't gonna cut it. Eventually, those sneakers came out, those polos came out too, and it was what it was. I was still business appropriate, but keep casual sometimes.
Right. Next office etiquette tip or trick, whatever you want to call it. For me, they trained us very well at school on like the actual job I was doing. So I was like pretty much a master in Revit for anything that they wanted me to do. There were a few things that they did in house a certain way that I had to learn, but that wasn't too much of a big deal. But when it comes to having questions on what you should be doing or how you should be working within the company, make sure you go to orientation and make sure you learn the proper processes on how things work in that office. Because in that office, we worked with different years of Revit. So you had to double check and make sure you're not opening an old file in the new Revit. Because it would update the entire project and mess it up. So somebody would have to go in and individually double check all the dimensions, windows, doors, call outs, notes on all the documents. So that was a number one priority for me not to do that. I almost did 1 or 2 times, but I stopped myself. I canceled the load before that happened. Also, actually, let's get to yours before I get to that last major point for me.
I was waiting for the story. I was going to ask you.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll get into the story then. Yeah. So for me, what's very important is you never want to force your superior, boss, manager, whoever you call it, to just solve your problems. Whenever you have an issue or you have a question, come up with your own solution and answer before you go to them. Make sure you're able to present your own solutions, because if you don't, it seems like you're just clueless. It seems like you don't know anything that you're talking about. But if I come to my supervisor and be like, "Hey, John,
yes.
How do I do this type of detail? Mm-hmm. I tried to do it like this. Is this correct?" That sounds a lot better than, "Hey, John, I don't know how to." No, like, "Hey, John, I don't know how to do this. Can you do it for me?" That doesn't sound good. So you want to come with a solution, and they can easily be like, "Oh, you were on the right track, but this or but that." Or they're like, oh yeah, you're right. That looks good. Or if it's really out of your league, oh, I forgot to hand that over to so and so. That's out of your league right now, so you can go do this instead. So make sure you get things off your plate the easiest ways possible. That's still professional. Because it seems like you're just useless if you just come to people without a solution. And that was one of the stories. So now you get yours.
Yeah. I just want to emphasize on the point of sometimes you can pick up on a mistake, and like you get assigned this task and you find a mistake or something that just isn't adding up. You're like, oh my god, what is this? How am I going to be able to complete my task? And you think it's really your problem, but it can also always be, oh yeah, no, that's actually just weird. Like you go talk to your supervisor or someone higher up, just, oh yeah, that would trip me up too. That happens a lot, to be honest. It's not always your fault. Like Cornelia says, always come up with your own solutions. But sometimes it's always okay to ask for help. So, yeah.
All right. Going on to my last story. Guys, I almost got fired on like the second week of my first internship.
Okay.
Because I was working with a different department. Usually I was working in schools or collegiate department designing schools and colleges. But on this day I was working in retail, and they were working in AutoCAD instead. So the day before I was getting all my work done, I was pretty much done. And I came in the next day and I realized that I didn't save any of my work from yesterday. So I was so used to Revit saving every 30 minutes or so for you that I didn't realize that AutoCAD didn't have that feature when I was working in it. So that morning, it was like at 9 o'clock, 9:30. My supervisor for that project, she was like, "Oh yeah, I need that done. Can you send me that by 12 o'clock?" And I emailed her. I was like, "No, I sent her a message on Teams," and I was like, "Sorry, I didn't save my work," and she laughed at me. So I realized that deadline had to be met. So we also had a town hall meeting that day, which just means it's a huge lunch and learn for the whole office, but it's a update on the company. So instead of going to that, I had to sit at my desk and make sure I got all that work redone and completed and turned into her by 12 o'clock noon. So I did, obviously, but that's just a stark reminder on how you have to make sure you're saving your work at all times. So I was pretty much racing to do 3 hours worth of work before 12 o'clock. So yeah, I definitely got it done, but it was definitely a push.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Real quick, I would love to tell a story of one of my most enriching internships. So this one happened in Detroit. I think it was my junior year of college. So it was an HBCU internship. So it was me and like a couple other people from different HBCUs around the country. We all came together in one city and we worked on a community center. When I tell you this is the most fun I ever had at internship, and like it set the tone for like how I'm looking at the industry and just working as an architect professionally. Like I tell you, I had so much fun. Like I was truly in charge of my own project, and I set my own deadlines. We scheduled our own presentations, and I just really appreciate that aspect of independence, and also just the projects we were working on. We were working on community centers that was for my community, and as an African American male, like you don't see that. We're not going to always be doing that in this industry. Like, so having that opportunity truly kind of brainwashed me. So that's kind of something I need to do. Like, if I'm not seeing the impact of my buildings like in real time, or at least having a plan to see it, because I know sometimes in architecture you can work on a detail for a 50-story building, and you will never see the fruits of your labor like in the same way I am, where I'm going on the ground, I'm talking to the community members, I'm interacting with people, I'm getting their feedback. It was just such a blessed and amazing opportunity. That's pretty much it for me.
Okay. Well, thanks for watching, guys. We'll have another one right back after this one. I messed it up. It's whatever. I'll just cut it
Go
out.
ahead, that shit out.